And it won't be something we'll be doing forever, but it's something we'll do as long as we need to do to get through.
New reality, new routines, the changes coming to New York City schools as more of the state is set to reopen. A beach battle's brewing, the new efforts to keep New York City residents from invading Long Island beaches. And the heartfelt hospital send-off showing new signs of progress in one part of the state. Good evening, I'm Chuck Scarborough.
And I'm Natalie Pasquarella. There is new hope tonight for New York. A 7th region has been given the go-ahead to reopen tomorrow after meeting all 7 metrics, the capital region. Now, deaths and hospitalizations are still too high for our specific area. Hospital capacity is too low. Memorial Day ceremonies with 10 people or less are now permitted statewide. Also, some families will be able to visit loved ones in 16 hospitals across the state. This is part of a pilot program. 12 of those are in our area. PPE and temperature checks are required. In the city, hospital and ICU admissions are up, while the percentage of people testing positive is down. And the mayor wants line of duty benefits approved for city employees. We know, sadly, at least 270 people have lost their lives. And summer school for more than 177,000 city students will be fully remote starting in July. News 4's Andrew Siff live in Jackson Heights with the problem that creates. Andrew.
Hi, Natalie. Yeah, the streets are open and the schools are closed. That's the pandemic reality in New York City right now. And today it was confirmed that would continue into the summer. No classroom learning for kids. Instead, it will not only be online, a lot of it will be pre-recorded instruction. For nearly 200,000 kids, summer school will be a virtual experience.
Learning will take place remotely.
The city confirming today what many parents anticipated. The earliest kids will return to classrooms is September.
The DOE is a bit of a battleship, and we're trying to turn the thing with a tiny little motor.
The mayor acknowledging some students hit harder than others by the shutdown.
Of course it's going to have an impact.
But the educational challenge is only one piece of the pandemic puzzle. This week, the city revealed zip codes with the highest death rate, including Starrett City in Brooklyn, Far Rockaway in Queens, the Northeast Bronx, and Flushing, Queens. One state lawmaker said the impact on communities of color is unacceptable.
We are here to say that every black and brown community has to be a priority this time around, a priority.
Today on Long Island, Governor Cuomo announced the next region of the state ready to open is the capital region, starting tomorrow. New York City, Westchester, and Long Island still not ready. When our area does reopen, I asked the governor if mass transit will be a viable option in a socially distant world. Some MTA officials believe they'll need to expand service. Would you tell them to do so?
The trains are cleaner than they've been. I believe the MTA is going to be better for this, and the service is going to be better. When we are ready to open, the MTA will be ready to open.
You'll notice the governor sidestepped my question about whether he would ask for expanded MTA service, but there's still time to make that decision. New York City not on pace to reopen non-essential businesses until at least June. Live in Jackson Heights, Queens, Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
All right, Andrew, thanks for your update once again. Well, it looks like NYU students will get to return to campus. The university announced today that in-person classes will resume this fall. The school's provost says that while they hope to return to a sense of normalcy, certain safety measures will be in place. Those guidelines could include reducing the density in student housing and ensuring classroom and student activities allow for social distancing.
In New Jersey, car and motorcycle dealerships are going to be allowed to reopen tomorrow for in-person sales. Governor Murphy says non-essential retail stores and outdoor dining could start reopening, quote, in a matter of weeks with capacity limitations. No decision yet from the governor on indoor dining.
Inside, lacking in ventilation, sedentary, and close proximity, those are really hard nuts to crack. I want to open up dining as much as the next guy on the inside, but you're sitting there in close proximity.
Governor Murphy is also banning all outdoor music statewide at concert venues and outdoor bars and restaurants.
Well, Chuck, tomorrow a big step forward in the long road to reopening in Connecticut. Outdoor areas of restaurants and bars can now open. Offices and retail as well. Outdoor museums, zoos also included. Now, capacity will be limited for social distancing and masks are required. But the salons, barbershops and gyms are still a no-go at this point. News 4's Mark Santia in Stamford with the preps and the changes.
From floor directions to hand sanitizers, inside to outside, the Antique and Artisan Gallery here in Stamford celebrates the past, but they've been preparing for the future. And Marianne Marr says they are excited for tomorrow's reopening of Connecticut.
It's important to try to support Stamford and the local businesses.
Even with 22,000 square feet of space in this Stamford gallery, masks are encouraged and so are reservations.
Only 25 people in at a time, so if possible, make an appointment. And we've gotten great response.
Phase 1 means office buildings, museums, non-essential retail, including the Stamford Town Center, and restaurants with outdoor seating will open for business if they choose.
It is not mandatory if you want to open. So we have businesses that are choosing not to open.
When it comes to restaurants, the city says everything is on the table, including possibly shutting down some streets to provide more dining space while remaining ADA compliant.
Areas on sidewalks that it's very hard to get a wheelchair through or someone who's walking with a seeing eye dog, and we have to make sure that everything is still ADA compliant.
Here at Remo's on Bedford Street, there's a palpable excitement at this Stamford staple.
Tomorrow is big day.
Remo's regular Howard Alexander says he will definitely be dining al fresco here tomorrow night.
I'm a local guy, and I try to support all my local businesses here in town, and Remo's being high on my list.
For Remo's owner, Eugenio Marafa, tomorrow's reopening not only means a positive step forward for his restaurant, but for the city of Stamford.
Tomorrow is big because it's the first step to opening. Slowly, but the first step, good step.
In Stamford, Mark Santia, News 4 New York.
And some more positive news for you right now. On Long Island, elective surgery and ambulatory care are now allowed in Nassau County. And another sign of progress. Governor Cuomo says that during the worst days of the pandemic, Long Island lost an average of 100 lives a day. That number is now 13. Legislators in Nassau and Suffolk want to keep those numbers down by keeping beach visitors from New York City out, allowing only county residents to visit county beaches. News 4's Pacey Chang is live in Nickerson Beach with the new legislation and just how officials plan to enforce it. Pacey?
Yeah, you know, Chuck, with beaches open but only at 50% capacity, officials were pretty nervous that New York City residents, because their beaches are closed, would come here and inundate these sands. So what they're going to do is check driver's licenses at the gate, and as long as you have a Nassau County resident in the car, then they will allow you to use their beach this coming weekend. It's the calm before Memorial Day weekend, but there's a storm brewing here in Nassau County.
People are going to be upset, that's for sure.
Upset if you're a New York City resident. City beaches are closed. New York City residents are unwelcome at Long Island beaches.
In New York City, it's just not time for beaches yet. We saw when Florida, California prematurely opened beaches, they had massive crowds, no social distancing. We can't allow that here.
That decision by Mayor de Blasio prompted the Nassau County Legislature to act, passing emergency legislation to keep Nassau County beaches for Nassau residents.
There are 8 million residents in the city of New York. If a small fraction of those residents come to Nassau County to our beaches, they will inundate the beaches.
Because of what the mayor of New York City's actions, we feel we have to do it because our residents pay such high taxes.
Town of Hempstead beaches, including Point Lookout and Lido Beach, will also only be open to Nassau residents. Officials fear that Nassau residents will be shut out this weekend since the beaches can only operate at 50% capacity. On a normal day, they could probably let about 2,000 cars here at Nickerson Beach, but because of the restrictions, they will only allow 1,000.
I think it's kind of unfair.
Because you're denying the people of the city access to the beach. I think the beaches were created for everybody.
While County Executive Laura Curran was not in favor of excluding people from the beaches yesterday, today she signed the emergency legislation.
Yes, we've spoken about the beaches. He explained to me his rationale. I understand his decision. I respect it. And then we're making our decision for Nassau.
I've been a lifeguard on this beach for like 51 years. There's enough sand on the South Shore of Long Island for everybody.
Now, this ban doesn't apply to the state-owned beaches. That's Jones Beach, Robert Moses, Sunken Meadow, to name a few. And the concern is if people can't come to these beaches here on Nassau's South Shore, then those beaches might get overly crowded as a result, and other residents in Suffolk and Nassau will be shut out for that reason. We're live from Nickerson Beach. Paisley Chang, News 4 New York.